So, welcome to the show, everybody. I do love the fact that I watch that every single time and I say, okay, Randy took my picture from my Facebook profile page and took Seth's picture from his Facebook profile page circa 2010. And those are very, very big differences.
Or as I like to call it, my prime.
Prime. Anyway, we're here. We did promise you a NCAA basketball preview. I promise you that will be next week. That will not be today. We did not have time to get it done, and we only have a 45-minute show because if you're looking at the faces of the hosts, we're both exhausted. This is just a very, very long week, professionally, personally, and everything else. So we have copped out, and we said tap out next week. We'll do that.
And no, when you do that, that looks like you're getting ready for a heroin injection, man.
No, I'm going to the lefty. I'm going to the lefty.
It's interesting to see where both of us go with that. You look at it as a baseball move. I look at it as getting ready for like a Pulp Fiction kind of thing.
No, that would be here, my friend.
No. The initial is here, then the injection to restart the heart
would be so there. This is to end the heart, and this is to restart the heart. Got it. Yeah. Okay, so that's Seth Kamens. I'm Sean Palmer, Seth and Sean Sports Radio. I got it right this time. So you can find me at SU Lawyer 2001. You can find Seth at S Kamens, and you can find us both at Seth.
Yeah, but nobody ever does. I mean,
I've gotten some. I've gotten some tweets. So I gotta say, some direct messages from not so friendly faces. Yeah. Anyway, so
I need 30 seconds, dude. Sorry.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna remove you then. Bye-bye. Okay, so Seth needed 30 seconds. And so what we're going to do today is it's the midway point of the NFL season. We're 8 games in. Some teams are 9 games in, such as the Tennessee Titans. And we're going to review where we are and where we think we're going to be, both for fantasy purposes and for the NFL as a whole, and where we went wrong. And there is a lot of wrong in which we have done. Just for until Seth joins, some news of note that happened today. So I had this up a second ago. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. So Odell Beckham was released yesterday. He has not found a team. Supposedly he is going to look in the next couple of days, and we'll add Seth back. And he's going to look in the next couple of days whether he's going to the Packers or he's going to the Saints. He's probably not going to the Raiders. They just signed Deshaun Watson. So, yeah, you're on mute. That's great. You're on mute, so I can't even hear you.
You know what's even better is you don't know the difference between a quarterback and a wide receiver. Deshaun Watson is the backup quarterback for the Houston Texans.
Deshaun
Jackson is the wide receiver who's the bane of every Giants fan's existence for the last 15 years.
And now he's a Raider. So congratulations on that. I'm not really sure you're ever going to see. Well, you did see him. I mean, the Raiders are playing or did play the Giants.
I know. I was there in the parking lot.
So you missed the one game of Deshaun Jackson.
I didn't miss anything. I had a 6-hour tailgate. It was good stuff. And
happy birthday to Rami on that note.
Yeah. Happy birthday to Rami.
Happy birthday to Rami. So Odell Beckham, where does he wind up? Does he wind up with the Packers? The Bucs said that they weren't interested today.
Why would the Bucs be interested in?
Well, they just re-signed. They just signed Brashard Perryman because Antonio Brown's out for a couple more weeks.
I think he's going to the Saints. I think that's the logical play. I don't see him in the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field.
But Aaron Rodgers would certainly be happy with him.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers has enough on his plate right now. But yes, they could use a solid number 2, if that's what you want to call him. I mean, who the heck knows what he is at this point?
Look, you talked about him last week in your last 5. Is there a player that you've seen? Well, I guess if you go to baseball, you could say that Clay Bellinger has taken that type of rocket or rock bottom look to his career in such a short period of time, winning the MVP 2 years ago, and this year being one of the worst regulars in baseball. But as far as a football player is concerned, do you remember anybody that has fallen off the rock that quickly at age 30? I mean, 3 years ago, Odell Beckham was the free agent signing or the trade of the year, right? Going to the Browns from the Giants.
Yeah.
You actually said at the time, look, I don't want Odell Beckham, but we didn't get enough for him. Now that looks like an absolute steal for you guys, even though
No, it doesn't. Peppers has been a decent player.
which is better than Beckham.
I understand, but it hasn't been a steal.
Well, you got off the salary, which in itself
is the positive of it. We drafted a defensive lineman who's been a nice player, but nothing special in Lawrence. We got Peppers, who's been a decent player. We got 50 cents on the dollar. If you want to, now again, we didn't know Beckham was going to be.
No. I'm saying this is a retrospect, right?
In retrospect, Beckham's been a disaster in Cleveland. Now, I'm not sure if it's because he's physically fragile or because he's mentally fragile or because he's emotionally fragile. I don't really know. But obviously, the fit has been terrible. I think he needs to go to a place where he can feel loved. That is my feeling. And the place that he would feel loved is New Orleans, who is is similar to my fantasy football team, is bandaging their way through a 5-2 or 5-3 league division, 5-3 so far this year.
Yep.
And have no wideouts. And we'll have no wideouts the rest of the year. So now again, I'm not exactly sure on how salary cap works on this. Now he's owed X.
No, he's not owed. Right now, he's gone through waivers, so he can sign at the minimum. So anything he could sign, he will sign at the minimum. Nobody's going to pay him more than the minimum probably to sign him at this point, because first of all, the Saints have no cap room, and why would you sign him for anything more when he's collecting $4.3 million from the Browns?
Well, that's what I meant. I didn't know if he was still getting paid by the Browns or if any of that salary transitioned over to New Orleans. So yeah, then to me to go to New Orleans is going nowhere right now. For this season, they're not winning a championship the way they are right now. If somehow you can get Beckham, which I don't think you can, back to 2017 Beckham, with the dynamic Kamara as your 1-2 punch and your really good defense, that's a scary team. Now, I don't think that can happen, but where else are the Saints going to get a receiver with at least the talent level of a Beckham?
No, I completely agree with you. Look, I think Beckham. Look, when we look at the last couple of years of Beckham, you're saying what happened, right? I mean, looking at his career stats so the last year with the Giants, he played in 12 games, 77 catches, and about 1,000 yards. First year in Cleveland, he played in 16 games with almost the exact same stats, 74 catches and almost a little bit over 1,000 yards. But since then, he's played in 13 games in total. He has 40 catches in total, and he has 550 yards in 13 games. So that's an average of 40 yards per game, if my math is right. 40 times 13 is 520, right? So that works. So 40 yards per game and 40 catches and 3 catches and 40 yards per game. And he scored 3 touchdowns in 13 games. So Seth, I'm not even sure what you're getting. Now, granted, it's a lottery ticket, right? These Saints are so far over the cap that we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Right now, for next year, they have $249 million on the cap.
Yeah.
$249 million.
I don't know how. Yeah, I don't know how much further you can kick it down the can. You can kick the can down the road.
Well, part of it is the fact that this year and next year they have an $11.5 million cap hit for Drew Brees because they kicked that can far down the road that now it's finally coming due. And they don't have a lot of dead weight next year, which is surprising. Most of their weight is actually in guys that they currently have. So and I know we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and I know I'm continuing to talk about it, but Cameron Jordan has a $22 million cap hit next year. David Onyemata, who I have never heard of, has a $13.7 million cap.
Is he a lineman?
He's a lineman. Andres Pete has a $15 million cap hit. Ryan Ramczyk, who is worth probably what he's getting paid, has a $22 million cap hit. That's not even talking Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas, who this week said, I'm done, has a $24 million cap hit, of which $22 million is guaranteed. So, Seth, if they cut Thomas, they save $2 million, which means they're not cutting Michael Thomas next year. It's just not happening. It's off the charts. So if you can make a run this year and you're the Saints, you go do it. I mean, look, the Bucs are only 6-2. They're leading the division. You're 5-3. Granted, as you said, I don't know how they're doing it at 5-3 with Trevor Siemian and Taysom Hill for the rest of the year, but they're still 5-3 and they're still in the playoffs. If the season stopped today, there are 6 playoff teams, correct? Seven playoff teams.
Welcome to the new world.
So 7 playoff teams in the NFC. The Cowboys at 6-2, the Packers at 7-2, Tampa at 6-2, Arizona at 8-1. So that's 4. The Rams at 7-2, the Saints at 5-3. Would you like to guess the next playoff team, the 7th playoff team? You will never get this.
Atlanta.
Atlanta is the 7th playoff team. Well done. They are 4-4, and they are the 7th playoff team. By the way, there is no other team at 500, let alone above 500. So it is definitely possible you have an under 500 team in the playoffs this year in the NFC. And we were definitely wrong about Atlanta. I mean, look, they're 4-4, but I mean, we picked them for last in that division.
Them or Carolina. I mean,
well, Carolina's 4-5, and they just lost Sam Darnold for, I think, 4 to 6 weeks, which is great for us as a fantasy league team because we finally got a third quarterback, but not so good for them. I will tell you, congrats to the Giants and the Jets. They finally did something right. They own the Bears and the Seahawks first-round picks. So, I mean,
which is admittedly looking better and better.
The Bears are 3-6, and the Seahawks are 3-5. But Russell Wilson supposedly comes back this week, so we'll see if that happens. So, all right. So the NFC, we got Dallas right? We both picked Dallas as the preeminent team in this division.
I'm not sure if I did. I don't know. I may have taken Washington.
Well, Washington's in last place, my friend, at 2-6.
I understand that but I may have even taken the Giants because I had no confidence in Dallas.
Well, after this week, I'm not sure you should have confidence in Dallas anymore. Dallas got absolutely their heads handed to them. They were down 30-0 to Denver. They were my suicide pool. When they're down 30-0, I'm kind of like, yeah, that's not going to work out too well. So I lost the suicide pool based on them. But Dallas in first place, the Eagles, Giants, and Washington all at 3-6 and 2-6. And Washington when Fitzpatrick went out, I'm not really sure Heineke hasn't been able to put up the numbers, or when he hasn't been consistent in putting up the numbers. What do you make of Aaron Rodgers? I just want to know. What do you make of Aaron Rodgers? That good, huh?
What kind of horse shit is this? I mean, call it what it is. You're trying to be freaking clever. Either, look, I'm vaccinated, you're vaccinated, my wife's vaccinated, my son is just got vaccinated. If you're going to tell me, like, I can't even jokingly believe that if you're not going to get vaccinated, just say you're not freaking vaccinated. Don't say you're immunized. Give me a bleeping break.
Well, part of it is he didn't want to deal with the protocols, right? And
yes.
And so he flaunted the protocols. And just last night, the NFL came down, which I think is, you said it best, it's horseshit. They said, "Oh, okay, Alan Lazard and Aaron Rodgers, you guys are fined $16,000 for going to a party, and you, the Packers, are fined $300,000 for basically being the team that allowed them to go to the party." And my question is, last year the Saints got docked a 6th-round pick for flaunting COVID protocols. Do you think that the Packers are basically getting off here?
Oh, yeah. Look, whenever you're giving a monetary fine, now again, Green Bay is a little different because there's not a billionaire owner like a Jerry Jones or a.
I actually think it's easier to give it to them because they can just run it as a line item. They're a publicly traded corporation.
Yeah, but it's not a tax deduction. It's a penalty. So it doesn't really
Okay, fair. Thank you. Got it.
See, that's what I got these things for. But
I always find it interesting how I'm the cap guy and you're the numbers guy and I'm the cap guy. But yes, you're right. But I think it got swept under even more because the NFL wants Aaron Rodgers to stay in Green Bay.
Yeah, they realistically they do. And that's, but let's be honest here. If anybody else got this, I think he's getting off on this very easily.
Yep.
And it's an arrogant response. It's a condescending response. And the reality is that he'll get away with it because he's Aaron Rodgers. And yeah, he may not be as loved as much as he was previously, but who cares? Honestly, who cares?
Do you think that this will be remembered a year from now?
Yeah, I kind of do.
So this will stick with him. You think that this will stick
with him? To a degree. It's not going to be an O.J. Simpson stick with you kind of
Well, thing. Obviously not. And it's not a Henry Ruggs stick with you either.
No. But it is it's more of a.
Is it an Albert Hainsworth where he stepped
on
the player?
I'm not thinking of a football reference. I'm trying to think. It's more of a. Who's the right person to use?
Is it a steroid?
Yeah, it's more of a Palmero, except he's going to make the Hall of Fame.
Well, because in the NFL, you don't judge based on what you do in the off the field.
That's right.
I mean, Peter King's famous line is about Lawrence Taylor, and obviously I'm paraphrasing. Look, he was the best on the field. I don't care what he did off the field. That's not my concern for the Hall of Fame. And he's right. And that's why O.J. Simpson is still in the Hall of Fame, because it actually says in the rules you only judge what the person did on the field, not off the field. There's no morals clause in the NFL Hall of Fame, while there is in Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. So you think it's a Palmero type thing or a Pettit type thing or a Kurt Schilling type thing. All of these guys. Yeah. I think it's more of a Schilling thing actually than
because there's a political aspect to it also.
Yeah. Well, and Schilling just thinks he's the greatest thing since sliced bread and I can get away with anything.
Yep.
So if you're the Packers this week, so I forget who the Packers play actually. I have to go look that up. They play the Seahawks on the 14th. So they play the Seahawks on Sunday. If Aaron Rodgers is able to play, you play him?
Of course you do.
You do. Okay.
I mean,
you're 7-2, right? So you have a lead.
Yep.
A sizable lead in this division. I mean, the next team is Minnesota at 3-5. You're playing for home field.
Right, for home field advantage.
Arizona
even screw over. You saw what Jordan Love was. Why are you going to screw over the rest? What point are you making? All you're going to do is piss off a guy you really want to keep.
True.
You're stuck.
Okay. So Minnesota, Chicago, Detroit, nothing of nothing, right? I mean, Detroit 0-8, a better team than 0-8, in my opinion. I mean, their point differential is minus 110, which is the worst in the league. Jared Goff's not the solution. I mean, Dan Campbell is a good coach. I think he is a good coach. I think he will be a good coach. The question is whether Detroit has enough patience with him. And
I don't think that's going to be a problem. I think that they played hard in most games. I think they're going to give Campbell 3 or 4 years to get this right. The problem is there's no quarterback to draft.
Well, that was going to be my next question.
There's nobody out there.
You are far better at the college game.
I'm a college football guy.
I mean,
the quarterbacks.
When the Jets need a quarterback, I know all the quarterbacks, right? But until the Jets need a quarterback again, hopefully that won't be for 20 years, because we have Matt White.
Mike White, dude.
Matt White. I don't know any of the quarterbacks, and I've seen a running back in Michigan State, right?
Kenneth Walker III, but you're not taking a running back.
Right. I'm saying this
is an offensive line, defensive line kind of line. This is not
you got the guy from Oregon, right? Who's the
Thibodeau, who'll be the number 1 pick. Yeah, he's a monster.
Will he be the number 1 pick? Detroit has it?
I would think so. He's that guy. But again, Detroit, I don't know Detroit's. I mean, I know they have very little talent, but I don't know they're specifically what their biggest needs are. From a talent standpoint, Thibodeau is probably number 1. You have a safety from Notre Dame, Kyle Hamilton. You have Evan Neal from Alabama, who's an offensive lineman. The quarterbacks, I mean, Malik Willis, you saw, who played at Liberty.
Yes.
And then they played against, I think it was Ole Miss last week, and he went 14 for 30 with 3 interceptions. You have Matt Corral from Ole Miss, who has put up great stats. I just don't know. I don't know enough to know where he is in a prospect line. Sam Howell in North Carolina hasn't been great. And going into this year, this was not an overly strong QB draft.
Right. Well, to be fair, so looking at the Lions depth chart, so Goff is the quarterback and obviously needed a replacement there. Your best 2 wideouts are Khalif Raymond and Amon-Ra St. Brown. And St. Brown's a good second or third, but certainly not a leading receiver.
Yeah, Raymond's been decent, but again, if you think about the last 15 years of Detroit, would you want to take a wide receiver high up?
Well, and that's what I'm doing. So here, you're not taking tight end. Hawkinson is your guy. Like, Hawkinson is talented, and he plays very well. You drafted a left tackle in Penny Sewell last year.
Right.
So you're not taking one of them. You signed a right guard to a $25 million contract. You have a right tackle in Matt Nelson, who has held down the fort. Defensively, the guy from Oregon, is he an end or is he a linebacker?
Kind of a combo.
Okay, so they play according to this, they play a 3-4 base. So you'd have to play the rushing linebacker. And right now that is being held by Trey Flowers. Not
it's like a $90 million disaster. Thank you, Matt Patricia.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. It's not like Trey Flowers can't be replaced. So yeah, it looks like if it's an offensive line or defensive line, and you just drafted your left tackle of the future, well, you're looking at defense. And they don't have multiple. Oh, they do. They have the Rams pick. So they may be able to pick. They have the Rams first or second this year. I think they have their second this year and their first next year. I'll have to look that up. Detroit Lions draft picks 2022. So according to Todd McShay, he was looking at Spencer Rattler, perhaps.
He's not even starting. He was benched. He was the quarterback at Oklahoma, and Caleb Williams came in and has taken over.
I'm just pointing this out.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Yeah, and they like Derek Stigley Jr. or, as you said,
Well, Stingley
Kayvon.
Jr. is the cornerback from LSU. They just took Jeff Okudah last year at number 3. They're not going corner. Wow,
So
I sound like I know what I'm talking about. I like
you
this.
do. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, every once in a while. I mean, really. They do have – I can't find where the Rams pick. I'm not sure they have them this year. Oh, they do. They might be able to use the Rams pick, which will be a mid to late first rounder. So they do have the Rams pick at like 24. So maybe they pick a quarterback at 24 instead of picking one at 1. And they pick up Malik Watson from Memphis.
Malik Willis.
Willis,
dude. Like from Different Strokes. Who you talking about?
Willis. So Malik Willis from Memphis with their second pick. Okay, so moving on to the South, Tampa Bay 6-2, New Orleans 5-3, Atlanta 4-4, and Carolina 4-5. I gotta say, I'm surprised by Atlanta. I'm more surprised by Cordell Patterson than I am anybody else on that team.
Yep.
And it really depends if Calvin Ridley comes back. And we talked about that last week as far as what people are going through with mental illness. And the West has to be the most disappointing, Seth. Both of us had all 4 West teams in the playoffs. Right?
Not happening.
Well, it might. It could still happen.
And Fran is 2-6.
No, they're 3-5.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they and Seattle are both 3-5. Now, the problem is at this point, they all play in the last half of the year, you play the in-division teams. So you're just going to be beating the crap out of each other.
Right.
Arizona's got to be a surprise at 8-1. I don't think either one of us had them as in first place. And certainly not 8-1. And certainly not with Colt McCoy leading the room. That was certainly a surprise last week. And our old friend James Conner made an appearance and had a very good game.
He's second in the league in touchdowns.
I know. Where have you gone, James Conner? Seriously. I mean, we could have used this last year, dudes. Like, seriously. All right. And now going on to the East. We definitely did not have New England and Buffalo tied at first. We have Buffalo easily winning this division. And Buffalo has played very well, but losing to Jacksonville 9-6. Man, the last 9-6 score I remember was Dean Biasucci kicking 3 field goals against the Jets. I believe it was in like 1984. 9-6. And Josh Allen not only intercepting Josh Allen, but recovering a fumble from Josh Allen.
Yeah, we've all seen it.
And sacking Josh Allen. And then the Dolphins at 2-7. And I definitely had the Dolphins higher than the Jets at 2-7. Is Tua the guy? Are we looking again at another quarterback? And is it Deshaun Watson?
Only if you're getting Deshaun Watson, is he the guy?
Is he the guy for the Texans then?
Yeah, he would be.
Have you seen enough of him to be? Is he a starting NFL quarterback? Have we seen enough?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think he's a starting NFL quarterback. I don't think he's a higher end. I think Miami's kicking themselves for taking him over. What do you call it? Over Herbert. But
and they also took Dante Culpepper over Drew Brees, so that's 2 for 2.
Yeah.
Okay, Baltimore 6-2. Did not see this. Did not see Baltimore as an offensive team, not a defensive team.
Yeah, I don't think the 6-2 is shocking. I think the way they've gotten to 6-2 is shocking.
So Baltimore's given up 195 points. To put that in perspective, the Browns have given up 196. And the Bills have given up 118. Like, that's a lot of points. But they've also scored 221. And that's third. That's third in that division, by the way, which is shocking in its own right. See, Cincinnati at 5-4 with 236 points. By the way, we talked about divisions that can make the playoffs. Every team in this division is over 500. The Bengals are 5-3. The Browns are 5-4. The Ravens are 6-2, and the Steelers are 5-3. They could all make the playoffs.
Yeah, they could.
And then you look at the South is exactly what we thought the South was going to be, except there's no Derrick Henry anymore. Yeah, did you watch any of Adrian Peterson?
I saw a little bit because I had more interest in the game than you did.
Correct. So what were your thoughts? Because I watched some of it as well. He looks like he's 3 yards in a cloud of dust, though. That's what he's going to be.
Yeah, that's kind of where we are. I mean,
which is still impressive when you haven't played all year.
Yeah, well, I think the point was that we thought he would be a 20 carry, 15 carry, 60-yard guy, maybe a 2-yard touchdown run. And that's about what we got. I mean, he's past his prime, but an excellent player. I mean, an excellent player in his prime, and now he's doing what he's got to do.
Do they win this division? Now they have a 3-game lead in this division.
Yeah, they do. I mean, Indy is good, but Indy just seems to shoot themselves in the foot every single time.
And tell me this. I don't get it. So you are Indianapolis, and if you play Carson Wentz more than 75% of your snaps, you have to give a first-round pick to Philadelphia. If you play him less, you give him a second-round pick.
Yes.
They were beating the Jets 40-0. It wasn't 40-0, but it was way out of hand, right? Way out of hand. And they kept playing him. I don't get it. He's an injury risk, and he's played now 99% of the snaps this year. You could have kicked that if you had benched him in the second half, and then if you had the leads, if you were in the playoffs, game 17, and you benched him for the whole game, that probably would have been less than 75%.
Yeah.
But no, I just don't get it. I don't. And then the Jaguars are 2-6, and Houston's 1-8. But I like Houston. I want to root for Houston. I like Tyrod Taylor. I want Tyrod Taylor to succeed. Because I want him to keep a job, at least for another 20 minutes.
Another 20 minutes?
Well, until he gets injured again. So, another 20 minutes. And the AFC West, where, again, we had all 4 of these teams we had 3 of the 4. So the Chargers at 5-3, the Raiders at 5-3, Kansas City at 5-4, and Denver at 5-4. How do you see this division shape it up?
I think the Raiders fall apart. I don't think Denver is that good. I think KC's been awful. Let's call it what it is. They've been absolutely terrible. But I think it's San Diego, Kansas City Denver Raiders. I think I think this Giants game is kind of the beginning of the end of the Raiders.
Is it the beginning of the end of Derek Carr?
No, Derek Carr has been a borderline MVP candidate. So if you're going to say is it the beginning of the end of him in Oakland, in Vegas, maybe it's not the beginning of his descent into backupdom.
No, I meant the beginning of the end of him in Vegas. But again, who would they get that's better, right?
Yeah,
Aaron Rodgers.
Exactly. So it's not quite that simple. But yeah, I mean that's what you're looking at. I think Denver's going to look. Denver, it's going to be Denver or Vegas. Vegas is going to want him. He fits that right now. He's fitting that Raiders motif.
Where it's basically doing this to everybody else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to do that on the air, or is that go against FCC regulation?
You can go like this to everybody else.
Okay.
Same difference. So, of the teams in the AFC, who are you most surprised at? And have you changed your pick? So, I believe you had Kansas City and Green Bay in the Super Bowl. Who is?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone could stay with Kansas City at this point. I don't think anyone has a clue in the AFC. I don't know how anyone could. Buffalo looks terrible. Tennessee looks good, but they're missing their best player for the rest of the year.
Yep.
Do you really have any confidence in Baltimore? I mean, Baltimore's probably playing better. It's probably been the best team so far. But for the love of God, they lost at home by 30 to Cincy. Cleveland's
don't sleep on Cincy.
Cincy's what I root for Cincy, but Cincy's lost 3 in a row since Cincy's not ready for that kind of run. They may make the playoffs. I think they're better than Pittsburgh. I think they're probably better than Cleveland at this point. But they're not ready for this.
Probably not.
If I had to put money down, and I really wouldn't want to, it'd probably be the Chargers. And I have no confidence in that pick, understand whatsoever. Baltimore,
how good is New England?
They're not. They're mediocre.
Okay.
Who would you take at this point?
So looking at this, I would probably still pick Buffalo because when you give up 118 points, look, we've said this before, you can either ride a great offense or ride a great defense to a championship. And Buffalo's defense is superior to every single team. Even though they lost 9-6, they only gave up 9 points. Like, it's not like it was the defense's fault.
The problem is I thought their running game would get better, and it just hasn't. And I've lost any.
Is it that their running game hasn't gotten better, or they just haven't dedicated to the
They don't use it.
Well, I think that's part of it, right? So if you look at this, Devin Singletary has 73 carries and 355 yards. He's averaging 5 yards a carry. Zach Moss is averaging 3.6 yards per carry. Josh Allen is averaging 5.6 yards per carry. Like, those are the three leading rushers at, doing math, 130, 200 carries, almost 900 yards. That's over 4 yards per rush. So it's not a matter of they can't run the ball. It's a problem that they don't run the ball.
Yeah, but they choose not to, so it doesn't matter.
Well, and maybe that changes.
Because for one, Sean McDermott, and look, I like Buffalo, but for one, Sean McDermott's been pretty he's a really good coach, but I don't think he's ever gotten any real grief on anything.
So I would take Buffalo right now. I think the dominant defense with 118 points scored against them is 60 more points, 50 more points than any other team. And New England is next at 170. In the NFC, I think the NFC is just as nuts as the AFC. I think when you have Arizona at 8-1, I don't believe in Arizona at all. Although their defense is much better than I ever thought they would. They've only given up 155 points. So going by that same stretch.
Yeah, but Chandler Jones has been hurt. J.J. Watt's out for the rest of the year. I agree. I'm not. Again, it's also, to be fair, I haven't really seen very much of them because they're not on around here. And the only game I saw, they lost to Green Bay, who was missing half their players.
Well, let's put it this way. Their point differential is 122.
Oh, it's enormous.
Right? They're 8-1. They have a lead on the home field. But I'll take Green Bay. I think Green Bay is 7-2. I mean, look, you can always go with Tampa Bay and just be normal, but because Tom Brady never loses. But I will take Green Bay. I think if Green Bay gets home field, I think they get to the Super Bowl. I think Rodgers is going to come out saying exactly right with exactly this to everybody. Devontae, hopefully, well, he won't get tested. He won't get tested again, by the way, until once he comes back. Yeah. He will not get tested until the day before the Super Bowl. So once you've had COVID, you don't get tested again for, I believe it's 90 days. So he won't get tested again until the day before the Super Bowl. So he's good for the rest of the year. You hope Devontae Adams was on the list, so he's good for the rest of the year. So and the only one that they're missing is Aaron Jones being tested positive, but who knows? So I think, as long as Aaron Rodgers is at the helm, I'll take Green Bay in the West, in the NFC. Excuse me, the NFC.
Yeah, I would stick with them. That's who I chose, as you said in the beginning of the year. Tampa's defense scares me. Green Bay's has been pretty good. And I would take Green Bay over Sandy over anybody. I'd take Green Bay over anyone in the AFC because Buffalo's defense has been fantastic. I agree. And I believe that they will come back from this pretty easily, and they'll win the division by 2 or 3 games. I have no feel. If Derrick Henry comes back, I think Tennessee is right there. If Kansas City has plenty of time to turn this around, as badly as this has been, and it's been pretty bad.
Been pretty bad.
But there's time.
Yeah. Okay, so we're wrapping up the show. Last thing to say. Good on Paige Bookers. So she got the first multi-year partnership for a female athlete with the footwear and apparel marketplace platform StockX. I fully believe in NIL. I do. I think that is the right. I don't believe the transfer portal works the way that everybody wants it to work. But NIL, you should be able to use your name, image, and likeness the way you want to. And look, women's sports have grown exponentially in the last couple of years. And the more women's sports grows, the more Title IX is brought back to even. And it allows for all those sports that were cut earlier in Title IX to maybe make a reappearance. Somebody reminded me today, why doesn't Syracuse have a hockey team? And you would ask that question 1,000 times over. I mean, they're in Central New York. No hockey team? What are you, crazy? Well, the reason is because if you add another team, you add more money that's given to another male sport, and Title IX is off kilter. So if women's sports can grow, that's good for everybody. So I will take that. Good on Paige Bookers for making this. You got anything?
No, I'm good.
All right. Next week, we're going to do our NCAA basketball preview, where I will predict that Syracuse will make it into the tournament yet again, even if it is by the skin, the hair of their chinny chin chin, of which both Seth and I have right now because we are both exhausted. So have a great week, everybody.
Or I'm just lazy and just not shaving.
Have a good one. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.